What does it actually mean, to live a life detached from worldly stuff? Especially now, when everything around us seems obsessed with getting more, with success, with,
Yeah.
well, just stuff.
Yeah, it's a huge question. It really pushes against how most of us think, doesn't it? Our whole idea of what makes a good life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So today we're doing a deep dive into someone really extraordinary, someone whose life, just by being so simple, was this massive challenge to how things were done. Not just back then, but honestly, it feels just as challenging today. We're talking about a companion of the Prophet Muhammad. Someone praised as, like, the most truthful person out there, even compared to a prophet.
That's right.
Our mission here is to really dig into his story, pull out those key insights, those sort of aha moments, to try and grasp this timeless wisdom that still feels incredibly radical.
It really is a counter-narrative. His story isn't about what he got, but what he consciously chose to let go of, and the conviction behind that. It shaped everything.
Okay, let's get into it then. We're focusing today on Hazrat Sayyidina Abu Dharr Ghifari. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What kind of person earns that level of praise? Imagine a prophet, the Prophet Muhammad, vouching for your character like that.
It's immense, absolutely immense.
Someone so devoted to truth, to simplicity, that a prophet basically says, this guy, he's the real deal. That's something else.
It really is. And those prophetic praises, they aren't just compliments. They're fundamental statements about who he was. There's this hadith, a saying of the Prophet, peace be upon him, in Jami Tirmidhi.
Okay.
And the Prophet says very clearly, beneath this blue sky, there is no more truthful person than Abu Dharr Ghifari.
Wow. No more truthful person.
Think about that. This is coming from the Prophet himself, known as the truthful and trustworthy even before prophethood. For him to say that about someone else,
Yeah.
it puts Abu Dharr on this incredible moral plane. It's not just about not telling lies, It suggests this deep core alignment with truth itself, something pure in his heart, his intentions, obvious to everyone, and crucially, to divine revelation.
So it's like his whole being resonated with truth, not just his words. How did that actually look in his life?
Well, that's where the second hadith comes in, also from Tirmidhi. It builds on this. The Prophet declared, no one among my ummah, meaning the whole community, is more faithful to a promise and more ascetic than Abu Dharr Ghifari. He is like Isa ibn Maryam, Jesus, son of Mary, among my ummah.
Like Jesus. That's a huge comparison.
It is, especially because Isa, Jesus, in the Islamic tradition, is revered for his profound detachment from the world, his utter simplicity.
Right.
So comparing Abu Dharr to him, it's saying he embodied that same spirit, that same renunciation of material things, a direct link to a prophet defined by spiritual purity over worldly gain.
So it wasn't just a nice thing to say, it was pinpointing his core spiritual orientation. Can you give an example of this asceticism? Like, what did it actually look like day to day?
There's this amazing anecdote. It almost sounds, extreme. He apparently wouldn't even drink water from a cup or a pot.
Really? How did he drink then?
From his hands. He considered even a simple utensil, like a pot, to be worldly wealth, something that could tie him, even slightly, to the material world.
That's intense.
It is. He was said to have divorced the world thrice. In Islamic law, a triple divorce is final, irreversible.
Right, like completely done.
Exactly. For Abu Dharr, it meant a total, absolute break from material attachment, from wanting stuff. His heart was free. It wasn't just spring cleaning. It was a full, final separation. A level of commitment that's hard for most of us to even imagine, right? When we struggle just to clear out a closet.
Divorce the world thrice. That phrase really sticks with you. It paints such a clear picture. Just for clarity, how should we say his name?
It's Abu Dharr Ghifari. The Ghifari part, you don't stress or double the F sound. So a soft F, Ghifari.
Got it. Abu Dharr Ghifari.
He was one of the Prophet's really beloved companions. And digging into his life, it shows us what made him so unique, so impactful, and why his story still matters so much.
But before all that, before the asceticism and the radical stances, he had to find Islam first. And his journey to get there, it's just as fascinating and, unusual as the rest of his life.
Oh, absolutely.
Think about it. You hear about a new prophet in Mecca, but Mecca's hostile. People are being persecuted for following him. How do you even find him without putting yourself and maybe him in danger? Especially back then, no phones, no internet.
It's a great story, and it's preserved in Sahih Bukhari, one of the most trusted hadith collections. It really shows his wisdom, his caution, but also that deep spiritual drive.
Okay.
So Abu Dharr hears these reports back in his tribal lands. He's from the Ghifar tribe. known for being nomadic sometimes, well, sometimes involved in raiding. So he knew the world could be rough.
Right, not exactly a sheltered background.
No. So he doesn't just rush off. First, he sends his brother, Unes, to Mecca, like a scout. Go check this out, see if it's real. His brother comes back, says, yes, there's a man teaching good morals. Only then does Abu Dharr pack his things and make the journey himself. It shows real deliberation, doesn't it? Careful thought about something so important.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Not impulsive, even though he'd later be known for boldness. He was strategic about finding the truth.
Exactly. And when he gets to Mecca, he knows it's dangerous. He knows the prophet's facing serious opposition. Just asking, where's Muhammad, could get him beaten up or worse.
So what did he do? How did he manage?
His plan was clever, if risky. He basically camped out in the Haram, the sacred area around the Kaaba. Generally, visitors were safer there because of tribal rules.
Okay.
And get this, he apparently ran out of food, his dates finished, and he survived just by drinking Zamzam water, the holy well there. Muslims believe it's blessed both food and drink.
This is Zamzam water. For how long?
For 3 days, apparently. He was just observing, waiting, not telling anyone why he was really there.
3 days.
Yeah.
Just watching and waiting.
Wow.
And then he finally met someone important, right?
Yeah.
An encounter that really tells you something about that early community.
Yes. During those 3 days, he encounters Ali ibn Abi Talib, the prophet's young cousin, very close to him.
Right.
Ali sees this stranger, clearly not from Mecca, maybe looking a bit lost. And without asking any questions, without grilling him, he just takes him home, gives him food, a place to stay, for 3 nights in a row.
No questions asked. For 3 days.
None. It's this amazing example of hospitality and maybe a subtle way of building trust, what some call a cold approach to inviting someone to Islam. No pressure, just kindness, letting the person open up when they're ready.
That's incredible. So different from how we often operate today, always rushing. What does that tell us? Was it strategy or just who they were?
Probably a bit of both. It was definitely their character generosity was huge, but it was also smart. This silent welcome allowed Abu Dharr to feel safe to build trust.
Makes sense.
And after 3 days of this quiet kindness, Abu Dharr felt comfortable. He finally told Ali, look, I'm here to meet Muhammad ibn Abdullah, the one claiming to be a prophet.
And Ali's reaction?
Very calm, very understated. He just confirmed, yes, he is indeed a prophet of God, and then offered to take him to meet him. That simple confirmation after days of watching and building trust must have been incredibly powerful for Abu Dharr.
No big debate, just yes, he is, let's go.
Yeah.
What happened when they finally met?
Ali led him to the prophet. Abu Dharr sat with him, listened for just a short while, and according to the sources, with this exceptionally high degree of faith, he accepted Islam right then and there.
Immediately. After all that caution.
Yes. It speaks to his sincerity and maybe the prophet's powerful presence. But the prophet, knowing how dangerous Mecca was, actually advised him, go back to your tribe for now, keep your faith quiet, wait until things are stronger here. He was trying to protect him.
Sensible advice. But knowing Abu Dharr, he didn't take it, did he?
Not at all. This is classic Abu Dharr. Bold, maybe even reckless to some. He refused the advice, walked straight into the Kaaba area where all the polytheists were with their idols.
Oh, boy.
And just shouted loud and clear, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger.
Wow. In the heart of enemy territory, the courage that must have taken.
Unbelievable. And the reaction was instant. The polytheists swarmed him, started beating him brutally.
I figured.
But then someone intervened. Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib, the prophet's uncle. He wasn't Muslim yet, but he was a powerful figure from the prophet's clan.
Okay, what did he do?
He literally threw himself on top of Abu Dharr to shield him, and he warned the attackers, stop, do you know who this man is? He's from the Ghifari tribe. If you harm him, they'll retaliate. They control the trade routes.
Ah, the tribal connection. That was still stronger than the religious divide at that point.
Absolutely. Harming someone from another tribe, even a new Muslim, could ignite a huge conflict, a blood feud. Tribal loyalty was paramount. Abbas used that to save him.
Amazing. Did it happen again?
Yeah. The very next day, Abu Dharr did the exact same thing. Declared his faith loudly, got beaten again, and Abbas saved him again.
He just wouldn't back down.
No. His conviction was absolute from the moment he accepted Islam. It's such a significant story that Imam Bukhari actually dedicated a whole chapter in his collection just to Abu Dharr's conversion.
Yeah.
That tells you how important it was seen.
So this courage, this absolute conviction, it connects directly to his views on wealth later, right? Which were just radical. It really makes you think, how much is enough? When does wealth stop being a tool and start becoming, well, a trap.
That's exactly the core issue for Abu Dharr. His whole dervish-like nature, that triple divorce from the world, it wasn't just a personality quirk. It came directly from watching the Prophet.
Right.
Abu Dharr was often the one who narrated the sayings of the Prophet that were critical of materialism, that pushed for detachment. He saw that the Prophet lived with almost nothing, giving everything away.
So he had that direct model.
Yes. And that's why it caused him such deep distress, almost physical pain later on. When the Muslim community became wealthier, especially during Caliph Uthman's time, with treasures flooding in from conquests of the Roman and Persian empires, he saw some companions and the next generation starting to live much more luxuriously. And for Abu Dharr, that just didn't compute. It felt completely alien to the Prophet's example he knew so intimately.
I can see that. If your role model lived one way and then people claiming to follow him start living the complete opposite, it would feel like a betrayal, wouldn't it?
Exactly. A betrayal of the spirit, if not the letter of the teachings. And the Prophet himself had warned about this very thing. There are powerful warnings recorded in Bukhari and Muslim.
Like what?
One really striking one was a sermon the Prophet gave years after the Battle of Uhud at the graveyard where the martyrs were buried.
Okay.
He made a few key points. First, he reminded everyone, these martyrs gave everything, their lives, for Islam. And now, you, the living, are enjoying the benefits of their sacrifice, often materially.
Setting the stage. Context matters.
Hugely. Second, he reminded them why they initially faced defeat at Uhud. It was disobedience over war spoils, over material gain, even with the Prophet right there with them. A divine lesson against greed.
So even with the best leader, greed could cause disaster.
That was the point. Third, and this is crucial, he said he didn't fear his community would fall back into shirk, into worshiping idols.
Oh, what did he fear then?
He feared they would get caught up in worldly wealth, that chasing riches would lead to fighting amongst themselves, destroying them from within, just like it destroyed nations before them.
Wow. So materialism was seen as a bigger internal threat than outright polytheism.
For the future of the community, yes, that's what he feared most. He even mentioned seeing his pool in paradise, the Hadith al-Ghifari, as if it was connected to this future trial. And fourth, he specifically predicted that the treasures of Caesar and Kisra, Rome, and Persia would soon fall into Muslim hands, and this would lead to a dangerous love of this world.
A direct prophecy, which came true very quickly.
It did. And Abu Dharr saw it happening. He saw the wealth pouring in, and he saw the change in lifestyle, and it deeply disturbed him because he remembered these warnings so clearly.
And wasn't there another, even more specific incident involving Mount Uhud that really hammered this home for him?
Yes, absolutely. The Uhud mountain hadith, also in Bukhari. Abu Dharr was there. He witnessed it directly.
Okay.
The Prophet looked at Mount Uhud. It's this massive mountain. You can still see it from Medina, looms large on the horizon. And he said, gesturing towards it, if this entire mountain were made of gold for me,
Yeah.
I wouldn't let the evening come while I still had any of it left, except maybe 2 or 3 dinars just for my basic needs. I'd give it all away in a hospital immediately.
The whole mountain, gone in a day.
That was the declaration. It wasn't just, I don't care about gold. It was a blueprint. True spiritual strength isn't in hoarding. It's an immediate, selfless distribution.
That's radical.
Totally radical. So for Abu Dharr, hearing those words straight from the Prophet, seeing that level of detachment, it cemented his view. Wealth beyond absolute necessity. It was a distraction, a danger. It wasn't just theory. It felt like a direct command from the Prophet's own life.
So when he later saw companions receiving huge stipends, accumulating what would be millions today,
he found it unbearable. It felt like a complete deviation from the path, the Prophet's path, a path he believed was non-negotiable.
And this fierce belief, this refusal to compromise, inevitably led to conflict, didn't it? Especially with Muawiyah in Syria. That must have been tense.
Extremely tense. Abu Dharr had migrated to Syria, Sham as it was called then. The Prophet had hinted some companions might end up there. Muawiyah was the governor.
Right, a powerful figure.
And they clashed ideologically. Muawiyah argued that the Quranic verses warning against hoarding wealth mainly applied to the people of the book, Jews and Christians, who didn't spend in charity. He suggested that for Muslims, it was okay to accumulate wealth as long as you paid your zakat, the obligatory charity.
So, a legal argument, basically. Pay your dues, and you're fine.
That was Muawiyah's take. A legally plausible interpretation within the Sharia, but Abu Dharr completely rejected it.
How so?
He insisted those verses applied to everyone, and more importantly, he argued that even if the law allowed accumulation with zakat, the Prophet's personal example, his sunnah, was total distribution. the Prophet himself never had wealth to pay zakat on because he gave everything away instantly.
So for Abu Dharr, the Prophet's practice trumped the minimum legal requirement. It was about striving for the ideal, not just meeting the baseline.
Precisely. His point was, how could companions who saw the Prophet live like that now indulge in luxury? It felt wrong, unbecoming. It betrayed the spirit of their sacrifices.
A clash between legal permissibility and spiritual excellence.
Exactly. And it got heated. Abu Dharr was very vocal. Muawiyah felt it was causing unrest, maybe challenging his authority in the way things were developing in Syria. So he wrote to the Caliph Uthman in Medina.
Asking for what?
Asking for Abu Dharr to be recalled from Syria, basically saying, this is causing problems here.
So, if we connect the dots, his principles, his refusal to just go along with the growing wealth, put him directly at odds with the leadership. It's such a poignant story. How did it end for him? Living that way, it sounds like it must have been a lonely path.
It's a really sad part of the story, deeply moving. After Muawiyah's request, Abu Dharr was called back to Medina.
Okay.
But when he got there, people flocked to him. They wanted to hear his stories, especially the Prophet's warnings about wealth, like the Hud Mountain Hadith. He was passionately reminding them of the Prophet's example.
So he didn't quiet down.
Not at all. But this created friction, because while Abu Dharr stressed the Prophet's personal example of non-accumulation, a valid ethical point, other respected companions, including Caliph Uthman himself, held the view that accumulating wealth was okay if zakat was paid, also a valid legal point.
Two different valid interpretations causing conflict.
Yes. And Abu Dharr's passionate, unyielding stance was seen as creating fitna, discord, unrest in Medina, the capital. Rightly or wrongly, he was seen as disruptive, even though his intentions were surely pure.
So what happened? What did Uthman do?
It's tragic. Seeking to quell the discord, Uthman eventually asked Abu Dharr to leave Medina.
Asked him to leave. Like, exiled him.
Effectively, yes. Abu Dharr, now an old man, maybe in his 80s or even 90s, he was sent to Rabta,
Rabta. Where's that?
a remote, barren village way outside Medina, out in the desert wilderness. And he went with only his elderly wife.
Just the two of them, alone.
Yes. The sources say it was so tense that almost nobody dared to even walk with them to see them off. Fear of repercussions.
That's heartbreaking.
The only one who showed that quiet loyalty was Ali ibn Abi Talib. But even he could only accompany them to the edge of Medina. He couldn't go further into exile with them. It shows the political pressure.
Just imagining that. An old man and his wife sent out into the desert. The hardship must have been incredible.
Unimaginable. Rabda is harsh even today. Back then, no support, no infrastructure, just wilderness. The Iranian film Imam Ali actually depicted this part of his life, the loneliness, the hardship. It was profound.
And wasn't there a prophecy about this? About him being alone?
Yes, there was. It makes his end even more poignant. It's recorded by Hakim. Years earlier, during the difficult Tabuk expedition, that long trek into the desert, the Prophet noticed some people were missing, falling behind. Someone reported Abu Dharr was lagging because his camel was struggling. It was a tough journey.
Right.
Then they saw a lone figure approaching in the distance, walking. The Prophet, showing this deep love and maybe foresight, said, I hope it's Abu Dharr.
He wanted it to be him.
Yes, and when the figure got closer, it was Abu Dharr. His camel had finally given out, so he just loaded his belongings on his own back and started walking, determined not to be left behind.
Wow, determined.
Seeing this, the Prophet made that famous declaration. Abu Dharr is coming alone, he will die alone, and he will be resurrected alone.
Chilling. A prophecy of his entire life trajectory.
Exactly. It foretold this lonely end in exile. It described his path singular, uncompromising, often separating him from others. Destined, perhaps, for that solitary journey.
So he fulfilled the prophecy. How were his final moments in Rabda? Did he truly die alone?
He passed away in 32 Hijri during Uthman's caliphate there in Rabda. As he was dying, knowing they were alone, he told his wife, if I die, and if by chance a group of Muslims passes by, ask them to perform my funeral rites, wash me, shroud me, bury me. He feared no one would be there.
Oh, goodness.
And amazingly, it happened just like that. Soon after he passed, a caravan came by, and it included some very prominent pious companions like Abdullah ibn Masud and Abu Darda, both known for their own piety and simplicity.
What a coincidence. Or perhaps not.
Perhaps not. His wife called out to them, explained her husband had died and needed burial. When Abdullah ibn Masud realized it was Abu Dharr, he just broke down.
He recognized him.
Yes, and he cried out, remembering the Prophet's words, Wah, the Prophet of Allah spoke the truth. Abu Dharr came alone, died alone, and will be resurrected alone. It was this moment of profound grief and confirmation.
So they fulfilled his last wish.
Yes. Ibn Masud and the others performed the funeral rites. They bathed him, shrouded him, and buried him there in the desert. A poignant end, fulfilling the prophecy.
And his grave itself. It's also part of this story of solitude, isn't it?
It really is. His grave is somewhere out there in the desert near Rabda, but the exact location is unknown. It's not in a marked cemetery. There's no shrine, no monument, nothing.
The most truthful person, praised by the prophet, and his grave is lost to the desert.
Exactly. Think about what that means. In a culture where saints' graves often become places of pilgrimage, his is unmarked, unknown. It perfectly mirrors his life, doesn't it? Complete detachment from worldly recognition, even after death. His final resting place is the ultimate symbol of his message.
So this brings up a really interesting point. How does someone like him, who caused fitna, who was exiled, who lived so radically, how does he end up being respected by basically everyone in the Muslim world today? Shias, Sunnis, Sufis, they all hold him in high regard.
It's one of the most striking things about his legacy, a real aha moment.
Yeah.
He's one of the very, very few figures who commands that kind of universal respect across all the major groups within Islam.
Why do you think that is, despite the controversy in his own time?
I think it's because his core qualities, that absolute truthfulness, the unwavering commitment to principle, the profound detachment from materialism, are universally admired spiritual virtues, regardless of theological differences. Everyone recognizes the purity of his intention and the depth of his sacrifice.
So his integrity transcended the specific disputes.
Precisely. He's seen as an imam of asceticism, a true master of renouncing the world. You find him cited as this prime example in major classical Sufi texts, like Imam Ghazali's works or the Risala Quashariya. They hold him up as the model for anyone serious about the spiritual path.
So his difficult life, the exile, the hardship, it didn't diminish his standing.
Quite the opposite. It solidified it. His story is remembered, studied, revered because it was hard, because he didn't compromise. Think about it. Many people who lived comfortable lives back then are forgotten, but Abu Dharr, who died alone in the desert, his legacy is incredibly powerful and enduring.
So maybe the impact wasn't despite the radicalism, but because of it. His unwavering conviction is what echoes through time.
I think so. His life, with all its solitude and challenges, remains this potent message about detachment, about prioritizing the next life over this one. And in our world today, saturated with consumerism, with constant distractions, his story hits hard. It challenges us to think about what really matters. His example, even if we can't emulate its extremity, makes us question our own relationship with stuff, with worldly success. It suggests true richness might be found in letting go, not in grabbing more.
That perfectly wraps up our deep dive into the incredible life of Abu Dharr Ghifari. But we've touched on the almost unbelievable praise he received, his unique journey to Islam, cautious at first, then incredibly bold, his radical stance on wealth that led to such conflict and eventually exile, and that solitary yet profoundly meaningful end. His life really stands as this powerful example of conviction, of asceticism, of sticking to what he deeply believed were the Prophet's core teachings and example, no matter the cost. A life lived entirely on principle. So the question for you listening now is maybe this. What does it truly mean for you to live, maybe even just a little bit divorced from the world, in your own context, your own life? And how might embracing even a tiny fraction of Abu Dharr's spirit, that spirit of detachment, of principled living, how might that change your own search for meaning, for fulfillment, especially in this age where we're constantly pulled by distractions and the pressure to always have more? Something to think about. We hope you'll continue your own deep dive.